Assalamu alaikum students. Hope you are doing well. Today we are going to begin with another topic of technical writing, that is research reports. People, today you people will be getting to know what is a research report, how do you basically go about formulating a research report, what's the format of a research report. Okay? One more thing, people, we will be covering this topic in parts. In this lecture, you will be getting to know how do you basically go about formulating the introduction section for your research report. In the next part, we'll focus on the literature review, and finally, we'll be focusing on methodology, data analysis, discussion, conclusion and recommendations, and finally the references section. Okay, so this will be taught in three parts. Okay, let's get started. What is a research report? A research report is a publication that reports on the findings of a research project, or alternatively, scientific observations on or about a subject. Consider your FIP, people. If you provide a write up of that, that will be a research report because you are ultimately researching on a particular topic and arriving at certain results, okay, for that purpose, okay? Research reports are produced by many sectors, including industry, education, government, and non government organizations, and may be disseminated internally or made public, which means that they may be published or unpublished. Okay? A research report is a reliable source to recount details about a conducted research. Moreover, if you just consider research in different fields, in the medical field, the purpose of a research report might be to show off the results of a clinical trial for a new pharmaceutical drug. Okay? In an ecological field, the purpose of a research report might be to examine the cause and effects of the giant trash island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Most likely, as a small business owner, you'll be using a research report for market research as well. Okay? To put it simply, a research report is a research document that contains basic aspects of the research project. Let's look into the format of a research report. If you remember the format of a research proposal, people research report also has three major sections: the preliminary section, main body, and the terminal section. In the upcoming slides, each and every section will be explained in detail. Okay? Let's start with the preliminary section of a research report. People, in the preliminary section, you basically have a title page in the beginning, then you have certain acknowledgements. If you basically want to include, that's completely optional. If you want to acknowledge your supervisor, your parents, etc., you can basically do that in this section. Then you basically go about writing an abstract. Okay, people, how do you basically write an abstract? That has already been explained to you, people. Okay, then you give a table of contents, list of tables, list of figures, if there are any. People have already been taught that how do we basically go about formulating a table of contents, an abstract, a list of tables, list of figures, etc. Okay. Then, people, we have the main body, in which we have an introductory section, literature review, research methodology, data analysis, discussion, conclusion and recommendations, and finally we have the terminal section, in which we include the references, appendix, etc. Okay, let's start with the introduction. People, in introduction, you give a brief overview about your research, then you move to the background, then you write down the statement of the problem. You can also write certain research questions, research objectives. You also give the significance of your research, and you also include certain limitations and delimitations. Each and everything will be explained in the upcoming slides. Okay? As I have already told you, that in the main body, after the introduction, we have the review of related literature. We then have a methodology where you highlight the sources of data, methods and instruments for data gathering, data analysis procedures, and then you move to analysis of data and discussion section. People at times it happens that people try to formulate a separate section for discussion. Okay, they formulate a section for data analysis and results or data analysis and findings. Okay, and they formulate a separate section for discussion, but sometimes people just merge it. Okay, so in the data analysis section people include tables, figures, etc. to actually represent the results. Okay, then we have the conclusion and recommendations section. Okay, then we have terminal or the supplementary section in which you include references or bibliography. You cite the sources from which you have taken the data, and you also give an appendix in which you include any sort of additional information that's pertinent to your research. Okay, let's start with the introduction section. You basically start the introduction section with a brief overview of your research. Okay, what is your research focused on? Okay, then you actually write down the background. Okay, the background of your study will provide a context to the information discussed throughout your research project. Background information may include both important and relevant studies as well. Okay, people, including a background in your introduction is of due importance. The reader should be able to understand your topic and its importance. The length and detail of your background also depends on the degree to which you need to demonstrate your understanding of the topic. You have to pay close attention to the background only because of the reason that you basically want to contextualize as to what your research is focused on. Okay, if you are writing a background, make sure that you include certain things in that. You include certain concepts, certain terms, ideas that the reader might be unfamiliar with. Okay, because you ultimately want your target audience to understand the topic on which you are researching. Okay, are there any things that need additional explanation? You include those things as well. Okay, if you have certain theories, etc., you include those as well. Is there any historical data that needs to be shared in order to provide context on why the current issue emerged? Okay, for instance, if you are researching on child labor in Pakistan, so how did this issue emerge? You need to actually put that in your background. Okay, are there any concepts that may have been borrowed from other disciplines that may be unfamiliar to the reader and need an explanation? You have to include those as well. Okay, the background information identifies and describes the history and nature of a well defined research problem with reference to the existing literature. Okay, people, background information in your introduction should indicate the root of the problem being studied. Okay, its scope and the extent to which previous studies have successfully investigated the problem. Okay, people, make sure that you include key details in your background related to your research that are required to contextualize the problem. Okay, avoid adding unnecessary details in this. Okay. Okay, people, let's start with problem statement. People, although we are done with this topic when we actually covered proposal writing, but just for the revision's sake, I'm going to repeat it. Okay, what's a problem statement? A problem statement is the description of an issue currently existing which needs to be addressed. It provides the context for the research study and generates the questions which the research aims to answer. The statement of the problem is the focal point of any research. Okay? Whenever you are researching on a particular topic, your research is actually centered around a particular problem that you aim to address. Okay? There are three basic steps to writing a problem statement. Step 1, contextualize the problem. Okay? What is the problem that your research aims to address? Okay? For instance, your research topic is poverty in Pakistan. Okay? So, you'll contextualize the problem, poverty in Pakistan. Okay? You'll state the details regarding that. Okay? Then in step 2, you have to show why it matters. Okay? In this case, people are deprived of basic sustenance. Okay? People are dying of hunger. That's why it matters. Okay? So, you have to state the reasons. Okay? Then in step 3, you set out your aims and objectives. How do you aim to address the problem? Okay? Maybe you want to determine its impact on Pakistan's economy. Okay? Moreover, maybe you are devising the solutions to this thing. Okay? How can we end poverty? Okay? Please just look into this example of a problem statement. Townsville General Hospital operates 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. As such, patient needs must be addressed all around the clock. So he has first stated the ideal situation. Okay? Then he moves to the problem or the reality. Okay? For the overnight shift, there are currently no cardiology technologists scheduled, which can create issues for emergency staff. Okay? Now he has listed the problem. Okay? Then some patients wait for 4 hours or more for a medical laboratory assistant to administer an electrocardiogram. Okay? A task better suited for cardiology technologists to perform and interpret. This results in poorer patient care and worse health outcomes. So now he has listed the consequences. Okay? And finally, he has proposed a solution. Okay? The hospital should always have a cardiology technologist available, even if they are only on call for the overnight shift. So the solution is actually presented here. Okay? After writing down the problem statement, we give the research objectives. Although this topic has already been covered, but just for the revision's sake, research objectives describe concisely what the research is trying to achieve. They summarize the accomplishments a researcher wishes to achieve through the project and provide directions to the study. Okay? In a research report, you may have 2 to 3 or even more research objectives. Okay, they start with the word to. For instance, to develop a budget for reducing pollution by a particular enterprise, to describe the habitat of the giant panda in China. Okay, whenever you are writing the objectives, make sure that they follow a particular systematic order. Okay, for instance, if you are researching on the causes, effects, and solutions of pollution, okay, so your first objective must be focused on the causes, second on effects, and finally the third one on solutions. What is a research question? People usually, after writing your research objectives, you list your research question. A research question is a question that a research project sets out to answer. It is what everything in a research project is built on. A research question forms the base of where are you going so that we have a very good research report. Okay? People, make sure that you have a well formulated research question for your report. Research questions can range from 2 to 3 in your research or more. Okay? The research questions must be focused, to the point, and specific, and they must not be subjective. Okay, people, if you just consider the first research question, if your research was titled as impact of social media on people's minds, okay, so in this case what he has done is he has actually stated the topic in the form of a question. Okay, what effect does social media have on people's mind? So people, don't you think that this question is very broad? Have we specified the age groups? Have we specified the social media platform? The answer is no. So people, in this case, what you do is that you basically specify things. Okay, what effect does daily use of Twitter have on the attention span of under 16s? Now here we have specified the social media platform as well as the age group. Okay. Moreover, if you just consider the third example, does the US or the UK have a better healthcare system? People, now this question is also very broad and overly subjective. Okay? People, there's no clear criteria for what counts as better. Okay? How about if we convert it into how do the US and the UK compare in health outcomes and patient satisfaction among low income people with chronic illness? Okay, people, don't you think that the second question is more reachable? Okay, it uses clearly defined terms and basically narrows its focus to a specific population. Okay, so people, this is how you basically go about formulating a research question. The research questions for your research must be focused, to the point, they must be specific enough. Okay. Students, significance of the study is one of the most important parts of your introduction. Okay, since it's written as a part of your introduction section, it basically provides the importance of your research. Okay, it provides details to the reader on how the study will contribute, such as what will the study contribute to and who will benefit from it. It also includes an explanation of the work's importance as well as its potential benefits. Okay? Okay, students, if you just look into this example of the significance of the study, this has been borrowed from a research that was conducted on a particular teaching methodology, and the student basically proposed a new teaching methodology for teaching mathematics. Okay, so as you can see that in the first 3 to 4 lines, we have a little overview of this thing. Okay, and then we have the importance, okay, that this study will actually help to train students better. Okay, moreover, he has also listed this thing that it will actually help to add to the body of knowledge. Okay, since this topic has not been researched before. Okay, and you can actually formulate a new theory on learning mathematics by using this teaching methodology. Okay. In your introduction section, you may also include certain limitations and delimitations. Limitations are the influences that the researcher cannot control. They are the shortcomings, conditions, or influences that cannot be controlled by the researcher, that place restrictions on your methodology and conclusions. Any limitations that might influence your results should be mentioned. For instance, time can be a limitation, okay, because you cannot control that. If you are conducting an experiment, certain atmospheric influences can be the limitations, okay. Lack of financial resources or funding can also be a limitation. As far as the delimitations are concerned, delimitations are the choices made by the researchers which should be mentioned. They describe the boundaries that are set for your study. For instance, if there are a lot of theories that can be applicable on your research, and you choose a particular theory. Okay, you state that. Okay, and for your research, for instance, for your research, you have chosen five people who will actually fill in the questionnaire. Okay, this is a choice that's made by you. Okay, moreover, if you're conducting a research and you just state that I'll just be focusing on, say, elite schools of Pakistan, okay, not any other schools, okay, for your research. So, for that purpose, this is a choice that has been made by you. Okay? Students will stop here. I do believe that you have understood everything. In case you have any ambiguity, feel free to write to me via Google Forms. Thank you so much.